Hello all. How fare thee? I had an unpleasant day yesterday, but as I always tell myself, tomorrow is another day. And today, I'm here to read to thee 3 scary stories. I sadly do not know who wrote these, but if thou knows, please don't hesitate to tell me in the comments below. I hope thou enjoys. Who's in my bed? A father went to say goodnight to his young son, knowing very well that if he didn't, his son would struggle to sleep. It was their nightly routine. He entered the dimly lit room where his son waited under the blanket. At first glance, his father could tell that there was something unusual about his son this night, but could not put his finger on it. He looked the same, but had a grin that stretched from ear to ear. "Thou okay, buddy?" the father asked. The boy nodded, still grinning, before saying, "Father, check for monsters under my bed?" The father chuckled before getting on his knees to check. There, pale and afraid, was a boy who whispered, "Father, there is something on my bed." The Red Wristband. A doctor was working at a hospital where the patients were tagged with colored bands. Green meant alive, red meant deceased. One night, the doctor was instructed to gather supplies from the basement, so he left his office and headed to the lift just down the hall. He was met with a patient inside softly humming to herself. Patients were typically allowed to roam the hospital to stretch. The rule was to be back in their rooms before 10 p.m. The doctor politely smiled at the patient before pressing the number for the basement. As the doors closed, he noticed that the woman had not pressed a button and wondered if she too was heading to the basement. The lift slowly descended to the basement, and the doors studded open. In the distance, a man was limping towards the elevator, and in a panic, the doctor slammed the elevator button to close the doors. The lift began to slowly ascend as the doctor's heart was pounding. "Why did thou do that?" the woman questioned, annoyed. "He was trying to use the lift." "Did thou see his wrist?" the doctor asked. "It was red. He died last night. I was the one who did his autopsy." She smiled softly and lifted her wrist. "Like this one?" White with red. A man had just moved into his apartment and went to the receptionist to get his keys. The receptionist gave him the key with a smile, but warned him not to disturb the door with no number. He wondered why, but didn't bother to ask, as he was too busy with his moving in to care. After he finished unpacking, though, his curiosity began to eat away at him. He pondered why the receptionist would warn him of something so strange, and so he stepped out of his apartment and approached the door with no number. He tried opening the door, but it was locked, so he got onto his knees and peeked through the keyhole. The apartment was bare and empty. His eyes scanned the room before stopping at a woman standing in the corner with her face against the wall. Her skin was pale, and her hair was long and black. Feeling somewhat perverted for invading someone else's privacy, he stepped back from the door and assumed that she was just a odd guest who did not want to be disturbed. The next day, however, curiosity consumed him again. He eventually went back, getting onto his knees and peering through the keyhole. Red. All he could see was red. Embarrassed, he assumed that the strange pale woman must have caught him peeking before and covered the hole with something red. He left and decided to just ask the receptionist about it. She sighed and asked, "Thou looked through the keyhole, didn't thee?" Embarrassed, he nodded, and so she felt obliged to tell him the story. She told him that many years ago, a couple once lived in that apartment, and that one day the husband went mad and killed his wife. She said that everyone knew something was off about that couple. They had pale skin, black hair, and red eyes. I thank thee for watching and listening. Please like, subscribe, and most importantly, give me thy eyes. If you have a story you wish for me to read, then I encourage thee to comment it below. I hope thou has a wonderful night. Farewell for now.